Howdy doody, everyone. I'm Merry Christmas. Today I'm here to sell you the top 10 snows in Viddy Snow games. I got you a present. Take it! Alas, poor New York. I was there, and it was gruesome. Who wants to commit Yuletide? I would, but I'm tired, so I'm going to wake up now. Ah, jeez. That was crazy. Oh damn, are we starting? What am I doing? What day is it? October 2020? That seems wrong. A nebulous, undefined time in the future? Well, that has like a 1 in 12 chance of being kinda close to the spook season. Welp, desperate times call for proportionately desperate measures. Howdy doody everyone, Wombu here. Sorry if I seem a little disoriented, I had a weird ass dream. You were all in it, and so was my friend New York. Welcome to my humble abode, a dilapidated abandoned mall where I sleep on a pile of bones. I don't sleep because I need to, I just like it sometimes. I guess you could say that in more ways than one. Skeletons are kind of a weird comfort for me. The idea behind them is pretty grim, so there's definitely utility in being scary with them unironically, but they're also so goofy, bumbling, and fragile that you could easily get comedic mileage out of them as well. When it comes to media, at least, I just find skeletons to be super endearing. Nice! Plus, they're quite easy to empathize with because, well, that'll be all of us someday. We all got skeletons, every single one of us. Quit looking at me like that. So it only makes sense that I cover this game that has been a huge source of good vibes for me lately. Skul, the Hero Slayer. An action-packed 2D roguelike platformer that puts you, the player, as the goofy little skeleton fighting his way through the world of heroes that try to stop him. And don't let the cute, pretty, pixely art style fool you. This is not an easy game. I've done a ton of runs now, and I've only beaten the final boss like 5 times. Thankfully, though, there are many tools at the player's disposal here. See, the main character here, Skul with one L, isn't just a skeleton. He's many skeletons. Yes, by taking off his own head and wearing different skulls, the player can change to different forms, each one with their own unique stats, classifications, and abilities attached to them. Like most roguelikes, there's also a bunch of different items to get and stats to upgrade, but the skulls are what diversify the gameplay more than anything. At the time of recording, there are 36 in total, with Monkey and Gravedigger being the newest ones, and I'm gonna do what I do best. Pick 10 that I really like and try to add some sort of justification to all my inane thoughts. Any rules? Next time you get a pizza, order it with the bone. Other than that, let's begin. So something I didn't explain in the intro, but probably should explain now, I'm not being unprofessional, it works better this way, is that you can actually have 2 skulls at a time. So you can swap between 2 different forms at regular intervals, and doing so is basically recommended since every skull also has an ability or attack they do upon being switched into. This is important to bring up now because one of these skulls just couldn't even exist without this mechanic, cause he'd just fucking die. Like, you guys get the picture here, right? You see what the deal is? And if you somehow haven't caught on, spoiler alert, he's not letting go of the bomb. He will never let go of it. How does that one song go?
Cool guys hang out directly under explosions.
Something like that. So that's it. What? I'm some kind of Suicide Squad. Guys, what do you even want me to say about this? Do I have to explain what an explosion is or why it's cool? Because I will. An explosion is a rapid expansion in volume associated with an extremely vigorous outward release of energy, usually with generation of high temperature. This is fucking stupid. It might seem weird to pick this one as the first entry when there's 26 other skulls with more fleshed out abilities, but fuck it, I just think this one's hilarious. It can be a bit weird to use in the midst of combat, especially if you don't have the skill that lets you detonate it before the 5 seconds it would normally take. It really is best for initiating a fight. You see those guys over there?
Yeah.
Kill them.
Okay then.
Mission complete.
You did it.
Best ability. I'm being a little reductive here. In the bomber's path to becoming a demolitions expert, he comes equipped with skills that can upgrade the explosion of the bomb or drop little mini bombs. But even with those things, it's a simple but enjoyable moveset that always ends the same way. You know, like this. You know those jokes people like to make where they take something kinda cute and by all means innocent and reframe the content of it to actually be rather horrifying? You know, like this. Look at this spherical monster. He's just walking around eating living creatures alive, and he's so happy about it too. If he could eat all these guys, then who's to say he wouldn't eat my kids? You get the point. It's a hilarious dichotomy and I am the funniest, most coolest person ever. But like, what if actually? If Roadhog from Overwatch and Gluttony from Full Metal Alchemist had a weird skeletal baby, then that baby would be Ghoul. Or should I say Ghoul? Or should I say Ghoul? I can't even make that up. If this were top 10 naming conventions, then I think we'd have our number one and I could just call it here. Believe it or not, to those out there that are already fans of this game, this might actually be a pretty unpopular pick, as quite a few people seem to dislike this guy. By far the worst skull in the game. It's too fucking big. I mean, I don't really think I look that big. I'm actually kind of small relative to everything else. Size doesn't even matter, really. It's about how you use your ghoul. I just want someone to explain to me what the problem is with my incredibly reasonable proportions. Right, so probably should explain how this happens. When the ghoul kills enemies, they'll occasionally drop little meatballs, which the ghoul can then absorb, increasing his size, strength, and overall protein intake. Thick boy is still a fit boy. This is thankfully pretty easy to do because ghoul's abilities are capable of devastating a lot of enemies at once and gobbling them up with his big whole stomach, which might seem disgusting, but personally I think it's rather efficient. Why even do the whole digestive system thing? I say just cut out the middleman.
Was that the bite of 80s?
Now, obviously, there's still some conceptual problems with this. Being really big does make you an easy target, and you'll rarely get to take advantage of this power against bosses, but at the best of times, playing Ghoul is viscerally satisfying. He's the go-to skull for elongated fights against big hordes of enemies, as he's got the crowd-destroying power and size to make this game about a tiny skeleton feel like Rampage, and I'd say he's got the best snowball potential, except for maybe... I ain't saying she a gravedigger. I don't even fucking like Kanye. There ain't a whole lot of skulls in this game that have summoning as their central mechanic. There's the Carleon recruit, who has skeleton minions, and then there's the Gravedigger, who has skeleton ghost minions, which I guess means they're double dead. This is what I was saying about efficiency. Death, never heard of her. Just unkill the boys twice over. Maybe it's cause I've creatively pratfalled into a Halloween pigeonhole, but I prefer the macabre in this context. In some ways, playing the Gravedigger is harder though, because while the Carleon recruit can spawn his troops wherever, the Gravedigger needs the presence of tombstones. Oftentimes you'll see these ghosty skeletons just sort of wandering around. If you hit them, they become tombstones and you can summon your guys that way. Just to clarify, this is in no way meant to disrespect the spirits of those who have passed. We here in the gravedigging business take the ethics of this matter incredibly seriously. Anyway, what was I doing again? Oh yeah, beating up a priest with my army of the undead. The Gravedigger comes equipped with 4 different skelly buddies. Yes, New York, I have other dead friends, okay? You're still my bestie though. Anyway, 4 different skelly buddies, all with different moves and all named after the works of good old Willie Shake and Bake. Macbeth slams the ground, Hamlet beats guys with a club, Othello raises spears from the ground, and King Lear throws beads. He's the bead boy. While you can only have 2 at a time, you can spawn multiple of the same one and they last for a long time too. So especially after upgrading somewhat, it's easy to overwhelm large swaths of enemies with sheer numbers. And all of the skelly buddies are good too, leaving no real reason to be particularly picky about which 2 you get, or to rank them individually, Macbeth, Hamlet, King Lear, Othello. Obviously getting them on the field requires some setup, but the Gravedigger himself is no pushover. That coffin he wields, oh god, there's probably a dead guy in there, don't think about it, Wambu, just focus. That coffin he wields is more than capable of dishing out the damage on its own. Kinda like Gold Lewis Dickinson from Guilty Gear, a character that my friend and occasional editing buddy demanded I mention, lest I be marmalized. This better be good enough for you, Wave. But yeah, Gravedigger is a lot of fun. Kicking ass is all the better when you can heavily stack the odds in your favor by bringing all your dead friends. And I'd say he's got the best snowball potential, except for maybe... Get it? Frost Skull. Snowball potential. Shut up, I'm very funny. General rule of thumb, ice is an awesome element no matter the game. Get out. Get out right now, this video isn't about you! So far I've covered 2 power skulls and a speed skull, but this one marks the first balanced skull, which in theory means you're kind of in the middle, but in the case of the frost skull means you're goddamn schnasty with both. Being real, cards on the table, we all love murder, right? And we all happen to have our favorite ways of doing murder, of course. Well, the frost skull happens to represent one of my personal favorites. That, of course, being blunt force trauma with manhole cover. That sounds wrong, actually. Which of my favorites is it again? Okay, let's see, freezing. That's it. That's the one. I don't exactly know why I have such a fixation with encasing my enemies in cold cubes, but I do. Is it a problem? According to my therapist, I could be freezing more people, so I'm actually making a lot of progress. You get frozen. You get frozen. You all get frozen. You die normally. See? I'm fine. If it seems like I'm stalling, it's because the appeal of Frost Skull is pretty straightforward. He's basically a physical mage rogue with ice knives. Okay, you know what? I take back the straightforward thing. Frost Skull is indeed a very close-up fighter, but all his attacks are magic-based. They all look physical, but I don't think there's any actual physical damage in the whole repertoire. That's why all the damage numbers are blue. If they were physical, they'd be yellow. Guess I could have explained that detail sooner. I'm not being confusing, okay? I'm being mysterious. Ooh. I described Frost Skull as a rogue also, though, because while it's not exactly speedy in terms of movement, it still has a very swift quality about it, on account of all of its attacks having virtually no windup. Every move comes out near instantly, and that right there may be the linchpin of Frost Skull. He operates on sheer denial. I don't have a problem. I can stop whatever I want. Not that kind of denial. I mean denial of enemy advances. It's all about prediction. You see an enemy on the offense, reject them, say, at least buy me a drink first, because it's funny, and then cut into them like an ice cream cake. I just think Frost Skull is kinda neat. It's a cool fighting style that rewards good reaction time and steady pressure. It's fun. It's very fun. One day I might kick my freezing addiction, but today is a cheat day. La 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 la. So like, I might just be a wee bit heart. Look, fuck off. I just think samurais are cool. It's not an anime thing, okay? Fuck anime. I'm sorry, I don't hate anime. I just hate anime. Hey, everybody. I like swords. They're rad, but I'll admit that they're pretty ubiquitous, and even in the context of Skulls, the skulls from Skul, the Skulls, there's certainly no shortage of contenders that could mostly be described as guy with sword, but I think it's ubiquitous for a reason. There's a lot of ways to make it work. You can make a sword so complex in its actual capabilities that it evolves into something beyond just a sword, or you can own a very swordsmanly archetype and just play into what makes those archetypes so beloved. You know, a chivalrous knight, a budding adventurer, a drunk, shitty-ass pirate, and of course my favorite, the samurai. I don't view the sword merely as a weapon, but an extension of my shitty video game takes.
A hero desires a sword, and a sword, and a sword, and a sword.
The sword is making him stupid.
I think the simple difference maker here is fighting style. Others might hold their sword to the high heavens, and then when it comes to fighting, they're just like... The samurai, on the other hand, is more patient, more disciplined, more elegant. The sword stays sheathed until the golden opportunity, and then suddenly your enemies are finally cut into thin cheese squares.
Such skill with the blade!
This might have gone off the rails a little bit. I'm more of a hot dog guy anyway. You know that stereotypical samurai thing where 2 guys slash at the same time and they just sort of stand there and the atmosphere is all intense and then one of them dies? Well, that's the centerpiece of the samurai skull. He always comes equipped with the single slash, which is basically exactly that. And it gains more power based on these little tallies that appear above the enemies with each hit. Build your way up to 5 tallies on an enemy and they'll take the full force of the single strike. Play your cards right and it's great for getting a big hit on a boss or just cleaving your way through a group of smaller dudes. It really is this quick thinking fighting style that I just adore. He's speedy, but you're also making all these little micro decisions to gain an edge and then build up to the killing blow. Hey, that's a mummy. And also, a thematically unrelated AK-47. I don't get it, but at the same time, I get it. Description: the guard that protected King Azarabia of the Netherworld. I mean, yeah. I guess that'd do it, wouldn't it? If there was one skull that grew on me the most during the time I've played this game, it'd definitely be Mummy. It took a hot minute for me to realize I actually liked this guy, but once I did, he shot up all the way from the dogshit F tier to the dogshit S tier. Very different from normal S tier, but still S tier. To be fair to myself, I could see why he made a bad first impression. His movement is kinda sluggish, and without any upgrades, his primary fire ain't great. All it takes, though, is one upgrade. Just a single upgrade for his whole gimmick to click into place. As just a pure concept, I think Mummy just tickles me the most. I'm all for ghouls that eat people, or magic ice boys, or samurais. This skull is just some dude who said, "Lay me to rest with all my glizzies." And to be clear, it's not just the AK. It's also a flamethrower, a shotgun, and a rocket launcher. And it's also great, but also so weird, because that's just the primary. The skill set actually is way more Mummy related. You can bleed guys, poison guys, fire homing bugs that are way better than they have any right to be, or you could just yuck your head at guys and have them explode. Don't you try a damn thing, New York. I see you over there. I guess what I'm saying is that when you're not popping caps in asses, you can occasionally do things that remind you that you are, in fact, a mummy. If I sound like I'm kinda unfocused, like I'm hopping around disjointed talking points, it's because I am.
This is what Mummy does to me. He's a gameplay smorgasbord and he doesn't fucking quit.
Have I mentioned the passive yet?
Oh god, it's still going.
Because it's a pretty cool passive. It does this. I'm not leaving. It's not killing me. I could just stay here forever. This is my territory now. This is Kasawambu, and only I get to be alive in it. To explain, the mummy doesn't take damage from environmental hazards. Fireballs, spike pits, giant plasma things, all a non-worry for the mummy. So I guess being from an area full of booby traps means you get used to them, like you're just numb to the pain. So all of this is free reign while the enemies still take damage from them. It's not an amazing asset, and it's hard to even remember you can do this mid-battle, but it's another layer of goofiness on top of an already wild character. When I'm not doing this or this, I'm doing this. And personally, I couldn't ask for anything more. This is called living your best death, people. So during the bumper sequence, I've been looking over the legally binding YouTuber's lifetime contract. Every YouTuber gets one of these. We're just not supposed to talk about it directly. But what are they gonna do? Sue me because I made up defamatory legal documentation? Anyway, it says in this very official contract that I am entitled to temper my spicy takes with at least one boring pick. Listen, I'm a top 10 maker. Our kind has a wonderful relationship with shields. We use media analysis as a shield for our insecurities, and we use humor as a shield for our inability to do media analysis.
For the last man in time, nobody said there'd be fun.
But even with this bias, I feel like this is conceptually a little plain. Literally, I'm holding a square and that's it. That's my weapon. Here's the thing. I can call it boring because I really like it. I put it at number 4. But if you call it boring, how fucking dare you? You may as well have stabbed my jugular. Don't even ask me where my jugular is. You haven't earned the right to fucking know that. What I'm really getting at through all this is that shield is a simple but very practical ability. I'd call it the quintessential power class. It's very common, the attacks are strong, the combos are easy, and the skills are not too flashy but pretty handy nonetheless. There isn't really any situation where shield is a bad choice. Maybe at first it can feel a tad lumbering, but by the time you upgrade it fully, you're just this armored bull man with a shield the size of your own body. For dealing with groups of enemies, he's got some powerful AoE skills. For initiating fights, you can just charge in and capitalize on the momentum, since dashing also does damage. For crushing bosses into a fine powder, you've got the aforementioned strength, and it's even good at keeping the player alive. Imagine a shield being used defensively. Now that's wild. Every time the skull is switched into, it gets a little HP barrier. It's small, but it can really be a difference maker at the best of times. Especially when you're low on health, any boost, even a temporary one, can go a long way. Plus there's also the concentration ability. When any version of shield aside from the first form charges an attack, they can nullify attacks from the front and hit hard in return. In the heat of battle, it can be hard to pull off, but with the right positioning, it's like countering a sword swing with vehicular homicide. To sum it up, it's not the most conceptually exciting ability, but when it's time to get serious, when I'm done goofing around and I just want to win, I just want to be good at video games for once in my life, I will undoubtedly pick shield and then lose anyway. This game is hard, okay? Fuck off. To start this one off, I'd like to quote a phrase from an iconic anarchist skeleton from the far-off year of 2018. The saying goes like this: be gay, based, and more relevantly, do crimes. I already addressed my favorite archetypes when I talked about samurai, and a similar logic could probably apply to thief as well. Ninja also would have been number 10 on the list, you know, if I didn't do this. I think in general, I just really like rogues. Holy shit, is that why it's called a roguelike? I mentioned before that all of the skulls have different classifications and commonalities. Thief is both my favorite common skull and my favorite speed skull. It's the sort of game feel I really love, the kind where you're quick and nimble and 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 just an agile little annoyance. Can you tell I'm a Pichu main? With this kind of thing, I'm happy enough with just the basic fundamentals, but if I'm really here to be crime and or do gay, then I want a tool set that can go toe-to-toe with Duster. Nearly every skill in the set provides this while giving Thief some really handy extra evasive tools. He can do a dagger swing with total invulnerability, drop a smoke bomb which evades enemy attacks, and even this. Nothing personnel, kid. And you know what else? Some people like to steal from the rich and give to the poor. Some people like to full-on eat the rich. This guy steals from the rich and then kills the rich with their own money, which is at least 2 instances of crime doing / gay being. It does unfortunately cost gold to do this, but only 3, and that's not a lot at all. Especially when his basic attack and 2 of his skills will get you the same amount back very quickly. Speaking of which, I should probably touch on that. This game has a few currencies, and Thief manages to help with at least one of them. The overarching currency are these purple diamonds, which are used to get permanent stat upgrades or other miscellaneous unlockables. The main resource, on the other hand, is gold, which does not overlap multiple runs, but can be used by healing items and equipment. This is the one where Thief specifically comes in handy. There is a third currency, though. See, to upgrade the form of your skull, you gotta pay the spider lady here in bones. Wait, bones? I'm a skeleton. That's kind of fucked up. I have to sell the appendages of my friends to a spider in order to survive.
So, what business do you have with me?
I'm here to make a deal. What can I get for this human leg?
Probably not much, but I might give you a handsome price for that head there.
New York isn't for sale. He's family.
But it's a skull.
He's my friend! My point overall is that Thief makes it a lot easier to put priority into other resources, since you can better maintain a manageable amount of gold. You know, via all that crime. Unfortunately, that contract I brought up earlier states that I have to be a good influence, lest I corrupt young minds and turn them into philanthropy weaponizing bone traffickers. So here's Wambu's Guide to Criminal Ethics Lesson 1. Not all crime is equally cool. Murder, generally unethical. Tax fraud, you'll only get away with it if you're a billionaire. Loitering, yeah. Fuck yeah. Public indecency, why would you even? Having bad takes about BioShock, honestly, the worst one. Fuck you, Logan. More like top 10 loneliest YouTubers. Anyway, back to crime.
Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch! Then pay with your
So, to be clear, I have beaten Skul before, a few times at this point. But seeing as it took me over 80 runs before I could accomplish that, I had to take to Twitter to commemorate the day I actually beat it. You did it! You did it! You are a true hero. Man, I'd like to hear that more often. That just makes me feel all fuzzy. It was a real trial and tribulation, but at last I can present to y'all the face of true heroism. God, no! For the record, the other skull I had at the time was Shield. See? He's right there. And that guy kind of makes sense for the role of true hero. He's gallant, he's bulky, he has a shield the size of himself, and he does his job to keep the player sustained. Meanwhile, the Predator
Predator.
Sorry, that's a bit much. The Predator's job is to paint the walls with the blood of your enemies. And I gotta say, this place is looking pretty good. Hey, you missed a spot, by the way. Okay. I love you too. So here we have yet another power class, and indeed the Predator is quite strong, but to balance out, he's also... There is no balancing. He's really fucking strong. That's a great sword in each hand. That's 2 breads getting buttered at once, partner. Seems way too overpowered, right? Well, what if I told you that a semi-unique part of his kit is that he can spam the shit out of his skills up to 5 times consecutively, and they're all really good. Predator has a lot of inventive ways to just eliminate everyone with big swords. There's good old-fashioned clobbering, the drive-by, and the personal Wambu technique of choice, the pizza cutter.
That's good. It's enough slicing!
Now I know that might still seem overpowered, but what if I told you that he also gets a temporary power boost after a kill, and those boosts do stack? Meaning just like the ghoul, the Predator thrives in big groups. Come by yourself, you're in danger, but come with an army, and you've sealed your fate. Hey Gravedigger, nice to see you brought all your dead friends. I brought mine too. Okay, so that's obviously still overpowered, and y'all are probably catching on to my bit and realizing that there will be no reprieve. But what if I told you he slows down time? Seriously, when you swap to him from another skull, time slows down for everyone except him, giving you more than ample opportunity to make the first strike, or retreat, or just kill them before they even notice you. Each fight's just like,
Oh, fuck. The Predator.
I think I'm just gonna cut through the veneers at this point. I don't think the Predator really has a downside in any way, and I am for it. Being the Predator isn't about being fair and balanced. It's about being a reckless, merciless, stone-cold killer who barely gives anyone a fighting chance. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks. I am the pizza. If there is a takeaway from all of this, I don't want a damn thing to ever change about Predator. I love him so goddamn much. I've said it a lot already, but this game kicks my ass pretty often, and while Predator certainly doesn't make the game much easier necessarily, he makes me feel powerful, confident, and terrifying. It's a power trip that is so unbelievably welcome in a game like this, and has easily earned its spot among my top 3 picks. But what if I told you... Wait, fuck, I have honorable mentions this time. Pretty fast, pretty vicious, a tad one note, but points for being doggy. Monkey. Pretty fun character when I feel like not fighting directly and just kind of being corny. I also recently finished FMA, and while I preferred Brotherhood, I think the overlapping stories were told better in the original. You know, it's funny, the original show is... It's fun, it's silly, and the predominant weapon is projectile knives. No matter how much I clean them, the blood never washes out. Pretty cool aerial fighter, but a tad awkward, and a lot of its skills kind of deaden its momentum. It's a grower, though. Points for the creativity, the power, and the beard. Plus, it's got one hell of a counter. This isn't a typo, by the way, this is how it's spelled in-game. Okay, if you still haven't got much of an image of how power skulls work after all my explaining, just this. Everything this guy's doing. The motorcycle alone got it in the honorable mention spot. The rest of the moveset is okay. Also, green fire. You're lucky I don't have toes to be stepped on. I guess this town is big enough for 2 of us. Unofficial number 11, I guess. Damn, look at that. I snubbed this dude really hard. And I'll do it again. He's still number 10, but he's number 11 now, too. I'm sorry I'm like this. I like this guy. This game really doesn't have enough dudes who fight with fists, but I do suspect this guy might be low-key kinda bad, so honorable mention. So if Ninja gets bumped down to 12, then this guy would be 13, meaning 13 is the death number, and I get to scare all the Triskaidekaphobes. Thank you for teaching me that word, Pharomonch. It pays to be a hip-hop head sometimes. Anyway, I didn't have room for any legendary skulls to be on the list, but Grim is definitely my favorite one. And finally... let's jam. If there was a more batshit goof-ass skull in the entire game, there wasn't. And listen, stupid isn't always my MO, but when it is, oh. The rockstar lifestyle really does feel like an enticing one sometimes. Okay, well, it seems like a miserable nihilistic swirl of drugs and debauchery, but if you remove that part, it seems really fun. The big fuck the system attitude, the kick-ass music, the complete overlap of bougie and fucking insane.
Yes, this is my $465 BC Rich Warlock in metallic red, truly an investment.
This is another Skul with a pretty relentless playstyle, but instead of being a homicidal maniac, you're a chaotic dumbass who must never stop rocking and never stop being too goddamn much all the time. Aside from that one inexplicable attack where you dome someone over the brain with my life savings, the rockstar is a magic user who is all about keeping the tunes bumping. The longer he plays his guitar, the more powerful his magic attack gets, and all of his skills help keep that momentum. He's got a cool outro slide, a solo to bring his magic meter up quickly, and best of all, the amps. Yeah, this absolute fucking goofnut can use amps to place pulsating shockwaves in up to 3 parts of the map, making him the king of area control. If all the world's a stage, then you best not be fucking with a half roadie. Rockstar doesn't just appeal to me as a fan of dumpster fires, but also as a fan of music. I'll listen to just about anything, but the 2 genres I fuck with the most when they're at their best are hip-hop and pop rock. And what I love about my favorite rock songs in particular are their ability to take those dark, miserable, or downright terrifying sentiments and elevate the mood to a joyous romp. This song, for example, is about entitled world leaders ignoring the concerns of the common folk and destroying the world through imperialism and war. It sounds, however, like a high-tier Sonic song. That's what the Rockstar Skul makes me feel as well. Like, no matter what kind of adversity or obstacle the game will throw at me, the sheer radiance of my unhinged buffoonery will be my light in the darkness. The power of an ass that is both dumb and bad. Nothing to break my stride, nothing to slow me down, just sheer awesome jovial bliss. But in those rare moments of bleakness, where my momentum halts, and all hope seems lost, when the timing is just right, and I just need one more antic, a little more damage, a little more stage control, just one more bit of transcendent fucking lunacy to bring it all over the top. Number 1, without question, play us the fuck out. And finally, we're done. Oh my god. I know I woke up like 40 minutes ago, probably, but I could fuck up some sleep again. Peace out, y'all. That was fun. Good night, New York.
Good night, Wambu.
Sleep well.